Hi and welcome to this week's episode of the WiEA Pod. My name's Kirsty Franks. I'm a board member for Women in a State Agency, and every week we are bringing you stories from guests all over the sector. None of that, though, would be possible without our sponsors and our partners at Digital Sparks. If you haven't yet seen the work that they're doing across short form video, please head over to their Instagram to check out what they're doing. So that brings me on to today's guest. Today's guest is somebody who I'm pretty sure that you'll be aware of. She is our resident AML geek. Sorry, but true. She is also an absolute bundle of energy on social media. She is one of our very own regional champions. But today you're going to see a slightly different side of this person. Firstly, I would like to welcome Emma Redley.
Hello.
This feels weird, doesn't it?
Feels really odd, yeah. And I think Amy might have something to say about me being the resident AML geek.
Okay, well, there's a couple of you, but you're a rare breed.
We are, that is for sure, yeah.
So, you and I have kind of got to know each other quite well over the last few years. Obviously, you are a regional champion for Women in a State Agency. You've been in the sector for quite a while, but we're going to talk about a very specific topic today and something that you've probably kept quite close to your chest for the last 15 years.
Yes.
But before we get there, let's warm you up a little bit and just kind of have a little bit of a chat about you, what you're all about, your career, you know, give us a bit of a whistle-stop tour.
Okay, whistle-stop tour. Well, I started my working career in marketing, would you believe, and worked in marketing for about 8 years out of university. I did that classic at university where you go off and get a degree and still have absolutely no idea what you want to do with your life. But my father was in advertising, my sister's in PR now, so it just sort of felt like a route to go down, to go into marketing, and I did that for 8 years.
Do you think Amy Shields would ever speak to me again if I offered you a job?
I think it's highly unlikely she would ever speak to you again. You offer me a job. Oh gosh, I can see the reaction now. So I did that for 8 years, and then as I think 95% of people in property fell into it for reasons that we'll go into in a little bit more detail, and then started off as a negotiator, as everybody does. Works my way through negotiator, valuer, management, and then into the supplier side for the past couple of years, which is where I feel like I've really found my home, and I feel like I've finally found my place that suits me, that really sort of fits with a work-life balance as well, having a family, a home, husband, everything. It was important for me to try and find that balance as well. That in agency, I think, is actually sometimes quite difficult to get because of the amount of hours, frankly, that agents and agencies put in, weekend working and things like that. It just wasn't quite the right fit once I'd had Rocco. So
and Smart Compliance is a great business, right? And you know, very much people are at the heart of what the business is all about. So I imagine that that's been a real help from you from finding that kind of work-life balance perspective as well.
100%. It's such a fantastic place to work, and to have someone like Amy be my boss, but also my mentor. I've learned so much over the past 18 months that I've been there. It's really helped me sort of understand B2B sales a lot better, building those relationships. You know, I didn't have an Instagram page until I came into the supplier side. It just didn't exist. I created one specifically for when I entered being a supplier. And it's just having that confidence and trying to have that phrase thrown around a lot, personal brand.
Buzzword.
But it is such a buzz phrase, but it is what I've tried to do, and you know, through Women Estate Agency as well, I have no doubt in my mind that I would not be sat here with you right now if it wasn't for that group.
But I think, Emma, people will look at your Instagram and your TikTok and, you know, you have grown that rapidly and you present this very confident, very together, hilarious front. And I think myself included, I didn't know that some of the challenges that you've been going on in the background. And I think, you know, there's a number of things that you've shared with me before today and a number of challenges that you've been through. But I think sometimes we all do this, let me put on the best possible bubbly personality on Instagram, when actually I think there's conversations like this, and a big reason why we do the pod is to kind of go, you know, everyone's got a story and everyone's going through something, but it's how you handle it. So take us back 15 years ago. Talk us through what happened to you.
So before I entered the property industry at all, as I said, I had a career in marketing. I was with my boyfriend, who is now my husband, but he's boyfriend at the time, renting a house, getting along perfectly fine. And I managed to get myself into what I can only describe as a pit of debt that started as a small payday loan, as they always do, that then spiraled and spiraled and spiraled to the point where I found myself on payday, my entire salary going out on paying back payday loans. I had nothing. I had no money. I had nothing.
And did this build up over time? Was this a kind of short period of time?
It was, in the grand scheme of my life, quite a short period of time. It was happening over 2 years, where, and it's stupid, but these things spiral, because the reason I took out the first payday loan was for something so small. It was a small £100, but you know how these things work. You borrow 100, you pay back best part of 200, and the spiral starts again. And it built up. I didn't tell a soul.
Not your boyfriend?
That was happening. Nope. He had absolutely no idea. He was in having some mental health issues at that time. I felt like I didn't want to burden him with what I was doing. I didn't really feel like, in my head, he was in a place to be able to cope with that, rightly or wrongly. That was my view at the time. And so it just built up and built up. And in this entire time, I'm lying to everyone around me. So, you know, I had debt letters coming through the door and I'd explain them away. Oh, it's a mistake. It's not happening. That's not for me. My family had no idea. My mum and dad, like, nobody had any idea that this was my life. And I felt like I was living two lives. I was living the Emma, the bouncy Emma that everybody sort of knew, and this other Emma that was just on her knees. I didn't know how I was going to get out of it. I didn't know who I could tell, because the shame, frankly, is just overwhelming. And I think as well, because I come from such a successful family. Like, my mum and dad always worked. They were very successful. My sister is very, very successful. I didn't want to be that person that was then, I've really messed up here and I don't know.
How were you showing up every day? Showing up for work, showing up for your relationship, showing up for life?
Honestly, I don't know. It was literally like I had a split personality. And when I was at work, I was just getting on with my job on a day-to-day life, just trying to get it done. It's like I zoned out, essentially, buried my head in the sand, pretended it wasn't happening, and just every day trying to get through the next day. Or we needed food. Where was I going to get the money from to actually buy some food? Another payday loan. That's it. That's the answer. And this was at the time where payday loans weren't regulated. There was nothing about it, and you could just borrow. And then obviously when payday comes, it all gets paid back and then some, to the point where I was left with nothing on payday. So the next day I'd have to get a payday loan out again, so that I had some money. And it's a really hard and crippling place to be.
How bad did it get?
Very bad. It got really bad. I got, you know, I was asking friends to borrow money. I was trying to figure out any way, frankly, of trying to get out of it. I didn't know how to get out of it. And in a state of desperation, I guess, I made some very poor life choices that then resulted in it all coming out in the end, it exploding in my face, if you like, and losing everything. And when I say everything, I mean lost everything. We lost our house, I lost my job, we lost just everything you could have, you know, that stability. The trust from the people around me had been broken. Why my boyfriend, now husband, didn't run a mile, I don't know, but here we are. And
did you think he would?
Yeah. And I think that was another reason why I didn't tell him, because I thought he'd go. I thought I'd lose him. I thought he'd leave me, and I was terrified of that. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I never told him where I was at anyway, until it was too late, because then it was, you know, I had not only destroyed my life at the time, I destroyed his. He lost his home as well. And there's nothing quite so guilt-wracking as knowing not only have you brought this on yourself, but you've also brought this on the person you love the most in the world. Your family are just looking at you in a, how the hell has this happened? And it's then trying to pick up the pieces rather than, if I'd just opened my mouth sooner.
Yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's a kind of spiral of almost self-destruction.
Yeah.
That then came kind of crashing down around you.
In the worst possible way, to the point where we had to move out, we had to put all our stuff in storage. We moved in with boyfriend/husband's mum. She took us in so that we had somewhere to live because we had nowhere to live. And I went through a period of taking every job I could find. So I was cleaning in the mornings. In the afternoon, I was working for a company, cold calling, selling home insurance, introduction to sales.
Sexy.
And and in the evenings, I was working behind a bar. And I was doing that 7 days a week. And I was exhausted and I was breaking myself because I was working all day, every day, 7 days a week. But I felt like I deserved that.
But that's what I was going to ask you. It almost sounds like you were, well, you had to rebuild, right?
Yeah.
But was there an element of punishing yourself? And what was your mental health like at that point?
100% punishing myself, because I felt like you deserve to be tired, you deserve to be on your knees, you deserve all this because you brought this on yourself. And I think when you've got someone to blame, like if you're like, oh, so-and-so did this and this is why I'm in this situation, it's different from being, I have no one to blame but myself. And so I felt like I didn't deserve a career anymore. I didn't deserve to do something I loved. I certainly didn't deserve my family and my partner. I didn't deserve any of that because I had broken that.
Did that have an impact on your relationship with him?
It was...
I mean, obviously, you know, there'll have been an impact at the start when all of this happened, but that, you know, it's, if you're in a relationship where you're down on yourself and you don't feel worthy and you're kind of bringing that to the table, that's got to have an impact.
Yeah, it did. And it was very much, you know, I remember even saying to him, look, multiple times, if this is too much, I will understand. I will understand if you want to walk away because I don't deserve you, kind of thing. And also it was sort of a case of, because of his mental state at that time as well, I was literally watching it get worse as a result of what I'd done. And I found that very difficult to cope with, very difficult to cope with. And I also wanted to know, selfishly, that if we did rebuild a life together, that I didn't want 10 years down the line for an argument about something, for this mistake to be thrown in my face either.
Did you test him and push him?
Yeah, I did, because I didn't want that to be the comeback to everything. You know, if we're arguing about, I don't know, something completely irrelevant.
Socks on the floor.
Yeah, I didn't want the comeback to be, well, you destroyed our lives, let's not forget. I didn't want that, and I said to him, I can't live my life like that. I will understand if that's where you are, but I can't live my life like that, because if I'm going to have to rebuild and do something, I don't want to then be reminded of the mistake I made, because trust me, I'm going to remind myself enough.
Yeah, I'm doing that myself.
Yeah, I'm doing it myself. I don't need it to be from you as well.
So how on earth did you go from, well, it sounds like even as part of the rebuild, you were in a pretty dark place.
Yeah.
How, you know, talk to me about how you've pulled yourself out of that hole.
Gosh, so I was applying for, what I wanted was a job where I could clock in, clock out, 9 till 5, Monday to Friday. Nothing I really cared about, because I'd just lost a career that I cared about, and I didn't want to go through that again. So I was literally applying for anything and everything, you know, receptionist, admin jobs, just something that I didn't need to put my heart and soul into.
You just wanted to be on autopilot.
Just wanted to be on autopilot, go to work, do my job, come home, done. So I was applying for all sorts of jobs, and one of the jobs that was there when I was looking was the sales negotiator job. And my partner turned around to me and said, oh, do you know what? I actually think you'd be really good at that. And I was like, well, I'll apply for it then. And I sent off my CV to apply for it, got an interview, and I had the interview with the franchisee owner at the time, a man called Ian Hoban. It was a lovely office. I remember it so well. I walked in, had the interview, walked out and went, oh God, I really want that job.
That wasn't the plan, was it?
And that was not the plan. And I left thinking, oh no, I really wanted it. I thought I can nail that job and I could do it. And actually, I thought that could be a career. And I was like, oh no, that wasn't the plan. So I left, and I didn't hear anything actually for a couple of weeks. I thought, well, I haven't got it. So I accepted a job somewhere else, doing the plan, clock in, clock out job. And 3 days before I was due to start, I got a call from Ian Hoban offering me the sales negotiator job. And then it was like, do I do it and risk having something that I loved again and losing it, or do I just stick to the plan? And I didn't. I went for the negotiator job, the sales negotiator job, and didn't look back. And that job and those people at that time, and Ian Hoban, bless him, and Neil Roberts, who were the franchisee owners at the time, had no idea what I'd been through to be at that point where I was going in for that interview. And they will have no idea, unless they happen to watch this, that that job saved my life. And that sort of first step into a estate agency and into this property industry that I love so much now saved me. And they had no idea. It was just the people, the culture at that franchise that is still there now. Ian and Neil have retired, but Sam Throw and Sean Nolan run it now. It's a Your Move franchise, and they were there when I was there. And my first branch manager, Tom Villette, was just amazing. And to be surrounded by those people and all of the other negotiators, it was something I hadn't actually experienced before. That sort of camaraderie and that sort of office environment, I hadn't experienced it before, and I just fell in love with it.
What do you mean it saved you?
It enabled me to believe that I was good at something again. It enabled me to try and build my confidence back. You know, not just talking to other team members, but speaking to clients, vendors, to buyers, and sitting there going, oh, they're actually trusting me to find them their house. Or that vendor, after that conversation, is actually trusting me and my advice on what I think might be wrong with the listing or anything like that. It was sort of like, okay, people actually think that I know what I'm talking about. Or and to have friendships and to have people not judge me as well, because, you know, I was judging myself enough. And it's weird, there's a very strong line in my life of before that and after that, and every single person after that point until today have absolutely no idea what went before. And because I entered into it, I was a negotiator at 29, which is actually probably quite old in the world of negotiatordom in estate agency. You know, I had a life before that.
Yeah.
And no one knows about that life beforehand, because I've made a very conscious effort to rebuild and create me as I am now.
So why are you choosing to talk about it now?
Because I feel a little bit like I was doing myself a bit of an injustice of people not realising. And I think actually, you know, I'm very lucky to be surrounded by so many strong women that I actually think become strong and are who they are because they've been through something that has made them build that strength and that resilience up.
Yeah.
And I'm no different in that. And you know, imposter syndrome is crazy, because I know that I have people looking at me going, oh my God, Emma's so confident. And I just think if they'd known me then, it would have been a complete opposite viewpoint. And I really also want people to know that there is no shame in reaching out for that help and asking for it. I wish I had, because my husband and my family proved quite nicely that people will still love you and they will help you, and they are there, because who I am hasn't changed from that time. It's about refinding yourself.
Have you forgiven yourself?
No, I don't think I ever
Really?
will. Yeah, I don't think I ever will. And I think because I feel like even now when I'm in a place at Smart Compliance where I love my job, I'm doing quite well.
Doing very well.
We've bought...
Come on.
Thanks. We've bought a house, which I didn't think was ever going to be possible, because obviously as a result my credit rating was ruined. So, but we bought our first house 4 years ago. And there's all these milestones that happen, but I even still now, I won't spend money on myself, because I don't think I deserve to have money spent on myself. If I'm earning money now from doing a good job, that goes on Rocco, and it goes on Ben, it goes on the house, it goes on the things that we need as a family, you know, a holiday, a trip away, whatever. But if it's, you could do with a pair of new shoes, I'm going to the charity shop to buy those shoes. Because I'm not sure I ever will forgive myself for it. And I think that that's still something to work on.
Yeah, well, you've got an absolute warrior group of women around you that will do everything to help you work on that. And listen, you know, we've all made mistakes.
Yeah.
There's nobody that hasn't made a mistake. It's how you deal with that and how you take accountability for that and how you rebuild and move forward. And, you know, you're an absolute shining example of resilience and going, do you know what? Yeah, I messed up, but I'm going to rebuild and I'm going to make it all right again.
Yeah.
And along came Rocco.
And then along came Rocco, absolute light of my life. And again, I think since having Rocco as well, it gave me something to, you know, he will only ever know his mummy as being successful in the property industry. And I don't think, and well, actually, when he's older, he might know a bit about sort of the struggles that we went through. But I want him to see his mummy as a confident, successful, strong woman in the property industry, so that he can be proud. I want him to be proud of me, and I want that for him.
I have no doubt, Em, and you know, I know you as a friend and a mum, and I know Rocco's had, you know, a challenging time as well, and I know how utterly selfless you are in fighting for everything that boy needs. Do you mind talking a little bit about Rocco's journey?
Yeah, so he's just turned 7, and his whole life journey hasn't been the easiest for him. It started off with him being born with talipes, which for those who don't know what that is, more commonly known as clubfoot, which he had in both feet. So we found out at the 20-week scan, they can spot it.
Really?
Yeah, 20-week scan we found out. And it was a sobering time because they took us into that room with the table with the tissues on. So we're freaking out, thinking, oh my God, what is wrong? And they sat us down and told us that we've detected talipes in both feet. And we're like, that's great.
What does that mean?
What's that? And talked us through that basically he was going to be born with his feet pointing completely inwards. And it wasn't as a result of positional in the just saw how he was sat. It was fixed, which meant that's how his feet had grown, that they had grown completely just bent inwards. And so they talked us through what the treatment plan for that was going to look like. Treatment would start from 2 weeks old.
So what does it look like?
So from 2 weeks old, he goes into full leg casts on both legs, and they get changed every week. And so every week we were back at the hospital, and what they would do is take the cast off, they'd manipulate the foot back out again a little bit, and then cast it in that position again, week in, week out for 8 weeks. But on week 5, they take the cast off and they do what's called a tenotomy, which is where the tendon is cut at the back of both heels. At the back of both heels. It's done under local anaesthetic. Obviously, I'm freaking out completely. Rocco's a baby, he doesn't know what's going on. Yeah. It's done under local, where they literally, you hold him and they slit the back of the heel and they cut the tendon. And what didn't help, it's not funny, but for us, the surgeon was doing it, and the snip when they cut his tendon on the first heel was so loud, one of the nurses went, "Oh my God," which made me and Ben go, "What? What's happening? You know, she cut the wrong thing. Oh my God." And it was just, and the surgeon immediately, to her credit, went, "Get out." Yeah. And she kicked the nurse out, because we were then like, what has happened? And it was just, I don't know, he had a loud tendon, don't know. But
is that a thing?
Who knows? But could have done without the oh my God at the time. But he has that done, and then they recast again, and then that cast is left on for 3 weeks. So that cast is then on for 3 weeks. There's something pretty special about being a new mother and going around with your baby in full leg cast, because the number of times I got, "Oh my God, what have you done to your baby's legs to break them both already?" And I was like, I didn't break my baby's legs, but thanks for your question, perfect stranger. Yeah. Appreciate you feeling
Thank you.
like
I'm full of hormones. I don't know what day it is. I'm already struggling with this.
I'm already
it's a real
struggling
help.
with it. It's a real help. Thank you for just coming up to me in the supermarket. Appreciate it. So that one stayed on 3 weeks, and then after that he goes into what they call boots and bar, which is for 4.5 years. So. Wow. It's a pair of boots that are attached to a metal bar, literally what it says on the tin. The bar is set at a specific angle. So you put the boots into that and it's fixed, and so his feet are fixed like this. And he's in that for 23 hours a day, 7 days a week for 3 months.
Did this delay his development in terms of crawling and walking? And
we don't think so. He was a slightly late walker, but then not so late that it was deemed as a result of that. Some people talk first, some walk first. He was very much a talker first. I'm his mother.
Wonder why?
Wonder why. Before he walked, but he was a slightly late walker, but nothing drastic. So we don't think so. And it certainly doesn't affect him now. There's no stopping the child. And then once you come out of 23 hours a day, 7 days a week, where for 3 months, it then goes into part-time, which is overnight. So he then just strapped them on every night when he went to bed, up the next morning, took them off, free as a bird for the day, strapped them on again at night. And that was for until he was 5. So that was a time of, I wouldn't let anyone else put these boots on, because they said to you, if you stick to it, there will be no relapse, there'll be no problems. He's not going to like it a lot of the time. The boots gave him blisters. He had blisters over the top of his feet and of his heels. But bless him, he's a resilient child, and he did not. I would say I could count on one hand the number of times he went, I don't want to put these boots on. And I'd go, I know, but we're doing it anyway. And the only other person I trusted outside of me and Ben to do it properly was my mum. So I trained her to put the boots on, put them on properly. This is how you do it. He had padding. We bought this padding stuff, and he had special socks because if the foot moves, then it rubs on his heel. So we had these thick socks that I'd bought specially.
So did he go start school with the boots on?
He started nursery and preschool, with the boots on. But obviously at that point it was part-time, so it was overnight.
Fine.
So they were aware of it because I always just said to them, look, if there's any pain in his feet, I need to know. But they didn't have to do the boots themselves because I didn't send him I didn't go back to work. So he didn't go to nursery until he was out the full-time part of the boots because I didn't want anyone else to have to do it.
But it wasn't the end of all of his challenges, was it?
It wasn't the end of all of his challenges, no. So we're sort of hopefully a bit out of that side now. He had an operation a couple of years ago, a double tendon transfer, which put him in a wheelchair for 8 weeks, and then walking casts for another 4 weeks after that. And then finally we're in a place where he doesn't have to go back now until he's 9, maybe 10, 9, 10, to see the consultant again. Happy days, life's lovely. And then he starts to have struggles at school where Rocco is a bundle of energy. Again, just don't know where he gets it from, Kirsty. But he has additional challenges and support that he needs in a school environment. For example, he struggles to sit still for longer than 30 seconds. He's a very intelligent child, so he gets bored easily. He needs to know his boundaries very early on, so he doesn't explode in trying to push those boundaries too much. Set them early on and you'll be fine. And really quite recently, in his last half term in year 2 at school, his behaviour escalated massively, where I was having meetings with the school all the time. They were telling me they had no idea why his behaviour was escalating so much, really trying to point the finger at us as parents and his home life as to there must be something going on. And we were racking our brains, couldn't figure it out. It got to the point where Rocco got suspended, age 6, from school for throwing soil.
Right.
Go figure.
Seems excessive.
Frankly, I think they just wanted a reason, if I'm being honest, at that stage. So they suspended him, and so my husband had to take a last-minute day off work the following day because I was actually in London for Kerfufflecon the next day.
Yeah.
So
you were stressed that day, Em.
I was stressed that day, Kirsty. I was exhausted as well. I hadn't slept. It was just... And it transpired that during that day with Ben, Rocco and Ben have a very close relationship. We're actually... Rocco will tell Ben stuff he won't tell me. And I love that they have that relationship, you know, proper daddy-son relationship. And Rocco had broken down and told Ben that his teachers at his school had been physical with him. And they'd been grabbing at him, pulling him by his arms, carrying him by his arms and legs, hurting him, intimidating him. And this would go some way to explaining why his behaviour had escalated so massively, because he was scared of them.
Yeah. And you had to keep a calm head.
And I had to keep a calm head. I tell you one thing though, Kirsty, they were flipping lucky that I was in
London.
Wembley that day.
Yeah.
Because I would have been round there immediately.
Yeah. But you've channeled it, you know, you've fought and fought and fought to get him what he needs, and tomorrow he starts his new school, right? He
does. He starts a new school, so I pulled him out of that school immediately. Complaint ongoing, obviously. I had a week of the term left to try and find a new school for him. I was on the phone on my way to the agent's giving ball for an hour with a Senko teacher at another potential school. We did a visit to that school in the last week. He spent a half day there. I explained to them everything that he'd been through. And what I really liked about them was that they sat there and said, we're going to have to work hard to rebuild his trust now in teachers and the adults that are here to look after him in the school environment. But we're prepared to do that. And he had a half day there, and he starts there properly tomorrow. So
amazing.
It's
everything
been a time.
Crossed.
Everything is crossed. I just want him, all I want him to do is just go to school and come back and not be worried that he's going to be hurt or grabbed at or, you know, bruised for...
And you know, every child should, as an absolute bare minimum, feel safe in every environment that they're in. That's, you know, that's the basics that we're asking for. And in a safe environment, he'll thrive.
Yeah, he will, and he will thrive in, you know, they used to, in his old school, it was isolation was their answer to drag him out of his class, put him somewhere else and isolate him. And he has now really has a thing about feeling lonely, about feeling anxious, about feeling...
It'd be triggers for him.
Yeah, massive triggers. And I've explained all that to his new teacher, who has really nicely emailed me actually today saying, thank you so much for sharing all this information with Rocco. I'm really looking forward to welcoming him into the class tomorrow. So everything is crossed that hopefully I'm not going to have to do it all again because...
Well, I think, you know, you've had quite a lot to deal with, babe.
Do you know what I mean?
and you know, I come back to what I said at the start, that is, everyone sees this full of beans, full of energy, funny Emma on social media. Is that you?
It is me. Do you know what? It is me, because I am really positive. I am a fighter. And when I really believe in something, I want to shout about it. So when I'm on social media shouting about women in a state agency, when I'm on social media shouting about what we do at Smart Compliance, because I believe in it, I will shout about it. And I am confident and I am a positive person. But there is also a big vulnerability and a mum who isn't sure she's doing the right thing most of the time. Someone who is still punishing themselves for mistakes they've made before. But I think that's what drives me to being that person that everyone sees now.
Maybe you should start shouting about how bloody ace you are as well.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Well, I'm just going to keep reminding you,
You can do that for me, Kirsty.
I know this took a lot today for you to have this chat with me. Thank you for trusting me and trusting us to come and have this conversation. And you know, you've got the best cheerleader squad around you that you could possibly ask for.
I know, I do.
But
yeah, the reason I'm sat here right now, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
If this group and these women and this support system didn't exist, there is no way I would be having this conversation with you right now. Yeah.
That's why it matters, though.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, You know, I have to ask you one more question.
I
know. I nearly forgot, but I do need to ask you. Who is your nomination to come and have a chat with us on a future pod?
So, my nomination, because I knew this question was coming, so I was thinking about it a long time, but actually, I really want to see Heather Foster sat in this chair.
Yeah.
She is a warrior.
She is.
How she is coping with everything she's coping with, and she is still showing up every day. I do a lot of things with Ran and I see Heather quite a lot, and I don't know how she's doing it. She's a warrior and I've got so much respect for her, and I would love to see her.
I would love to see her on here as well. Emma Redley, you beautiful human, thank you so much for coming on the pod. Love you lots.